we're really well paid. We're well paid. What's the problem? Why do they need to go grovelling around the world trying to get more money?
They didn't do anything wrong.
They didn't do anything wrong. It's within the rules, but it shouldn't be within the rules. The rules should be that you have a job and you should do that job, and that's what the public expect. It's a hell of an honour to be an MP, and it ought to take all your time. There are things that you can do, I think. So I think you can do podcasts, you can appear on programmes like this, you can write books and so on, particularly if you are continuing to engage the public in debate. We have members of Parliament who work in the public sector who are also nurses and care workers and doctors and so on. I think that's probably quite a good thing to do. But going off and having these, of course you'd need to declare it, but the details of these conversations, the nature of these relationships will largely be secret. And I don't think it's right. And Keir has made it perfectly clear that he would not expect this, and we would expect. We want to set up an alternative. We want to have an independent commission that will look at standards, make sure that we have clear rules so that everybody knows. When this stuff happens, it affects all of us. All MPs are tarred with this, and it's not right, it's not fair.
But some parties, it's not just the Tories. I mean, some on your front bench take money for second jobs as well, don't they? David Lammy, for example.
Well, I mean, David has a programme on LBC, and
thinking more about the work that he does in the city, offering lectures and the like. How does that benefit his constituents?
I think that what we should be doing is we should have clear rules about this, and I think that if you are engaging people in political debate, that's fine. Then I think that's part of your job as a Member of Parliament, is to do that. But I think going further than that is something that we do need to change. And as I say, this government has been in power for 13 years, and for the government now to be saying, oh, we're going to look at the rules now, why haven't they done it before? It's not as though they haven't had scandal after scandal running up to now.
What should we do about this immigration bill that is coming before the House, I think, again today?
Well, Labour's going to vote against it. And we're going to vote against it because it doesn't work. It is not going to stop any boats. It's not going to deal with people properly when they arrive. It's not going to send anybody back. It's not going to do any of the things it's supposed to do. All it really is, and I think that they've been quite open about this, is they're just basically trying to start a fight. They're not expecting this legislation to get anywhere, but they want to kind of make a big fuss about it. And I genuinely think that that's what Suella Braverman wants. And she hasn't gone far enough for her.
She thinks that people will be in Rwanda by the summer.
Yeah, right. Is she going to put all of these people coming from all of these boats over to Rwanda? No, it's not even if that works, right? Even if it was seen to be legal, there still would only be a tiny proportion of those who are arriving on our shores at the moment will be sent to Rwanda. Where will the rest of them go? They're going to be put into indefinite detention. We don't know where. It will include women who have been trafficked. It will include genuine asylum seekers. It will include children. And we're going to just lock them up in camps somewhere forever? We need to have a proper agreement with other countries in order to return people. We need to have we need to go for the gangs. I mean, most of the people, 2/3 of the people in the gangs, we're told, actually live in the UK. Does this legislation do anything about that?
It was one of our investigations.
But what are they doing about that?
You say Labour is backing an amendment calling for fast tracks for asylum seekers from safe countries. What constitutes a safe country?
Well, it would be if someone is coming from one of the European countries, but they want to be able to, so they've arrived in Europe, but they want to be able to reunite with the rest of their family. So perhaps one of the members of the family has come through as a refugee and they want to reunite with their children or their husband or whatever, then we should have an easier way of being able to fast-track people into the country that way, rather than them kind of getting desperate and ending up taking reckless measures, like getting onto a small boat and coming across the channel.
And what about safe countries, sending people back to places like Albania?
Yeah, so what we need to do is we need to be focusing our efforts on making sure that we have proper relationships with these countries and working with them. Going outside the international law, for example, if this legislation does, which it'll be challenged and we'll see. But, this constant kind of trying to goad the rest of the world by saying that they are prepared to break international law does not help when you're also trying to come to agreements with these countries for them to accept people to come back.
Let's move on to the Children's Minister, who says that black kids are 6 times more likely to be stopped and searched than others. And we're also hearing about Child Q, who was strip searched naked while she was having her period. What's Labour's stance on this?
Well, it's absolutely disgusting. I mean, I don't actually think that there's disagreement between the political parties on this. I think that we all think that it's appalling, and we all wonder how on earth we got to this situation where this is in some way acceptable for children to be strip searched at the age of 8. It really isn't acceptable. And I think that we do need to do some serious work on this and look again at the culture and the police where they think that this is right. And I think that a lot of what Louise Casey said is of relevance to this. But yes, there needs to be work on this. We cannot. We cannot continue like this.
Just let me ask you a thought. With your previous hat on, when you were Shadow Foreign Secretary, President, or Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, he visited London last week, met by protests here, lots of protests at home as well. He wants to change the law, doesn't it? Basically, what he wants to happen is make it more difficult for people who are not necessarily the right person for the job to be removed from that job. What would you say to that?
I think it's also that he also wants to have political appointments of judges. And when I've been in Israel, and I've visited many times, I've spoken to people throughout society, including some very senior judges, who are proud of the fact that they have an independent legal system, independent of politics. You know, that's what the rule of law is about, and it needs to be applied equally to everybody. And any attempt to undermine that has caused huge concern internationally, but also within Israel,
so
which is why we're...
to him?
I think they should pull it. I mean, I just think that they should think again. I mean, the trouble is it's a very authoritarian regime, and it relies on some very hard right people in order to be able to remain in power. And so their worry is if they do anything about it, then the government may collapse. I'm afraid, for the sake of the future of the democratic future of Israel, they need to pull this legislation.
Emily Thornberry, always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.